Chapter 3, Mishnah 3. As we have learned, a 3-year chazaka serves as a substitute for a bill of sale to prove that a person has acquired a property legally. However, simply occupying a land for 3 years does not give the occupier any legal claim to the property. Any chazaka that is not accompanied by a claim of legal ownership is not a valid chazaka. How so? If someone said to his fellow, "What are you doing in my property?" And he replied to him, "I am using this property because no one ever told me anything in protest." But he does not say that he ever bought or acquired the property. This is not a valid chazaka, and he must leave the property because he does not claim to own it or have any right to it. Although he resided there for 3 or more years without protest, this means nothing unless he also advances a claim, a reason why the property is legally his, such as a claim that he bought it or received it as a gift. If, however, the occupier replies, "I am here because you sold the property to me, or because you gave it to me as a gift," or he says, "Your father sold it to me," or "Your father gave it to me as a gift," then this is a valid chazaka. In these cases, the occupier's chazaka allows him to successfully claim the property, even though he cannot provide a bill of sale or gift deed to back up his claim. Once the 3 years of his occupancy pass without challenge, it is possible that he grew secure in his ownership and misplaced his bill of sale. And one who comes with a claim of inheritance does not need to defend his ancestor's claim. That is, if the occupier claims that he originally received the property as an inheritance from his father, he is not required to provide proof that his father acquired it legally from the previous owner. As long as he has established a chazaka by using the property for 3 years without protest, and can provide proof that his father lived in the property for at least one day before he died, this claim is believed. As we have learned, the basis of a chazaka is the fact that unauthorized occupancy of a person's property will cause him to protest, and his failure to protest gives the occupier reason to become secure in his title and careless in safeguarding his deed. The Mishnah now identifies certain groups of people whose occupation of a property for 3 years does not establish a chazaka. Craftsmen, partners, sharecroppers, and administrators cannot establish a chazaka because their unchallenged use of a land for 3 years does not prove that they own it. Other cases where a chazaka cannot be established. A man cannot establish a chazaka upon the property of his wife. By Torah law, a husband is required to provide food for his wife, and the sages gave him the right to use the produce of any real estate that she brings into the marriage. See chapter 4 of Kesubos, Mishnah 4. Since he is entitled to eat the produce of her fields while they are married, he cannot establish a chazaka by doing so. Nor can a woman establish a chazaka upon the property of her husband. Since a husband is required by law to provide food for his wife, the fact that she eats the produce of his fields cannot be the basis for a chazaka. Also, a father cannot establish a chazaka on the property of a son, and a son cannot establish a chazaka on the property of a father. In all these cases, occupancy does not prove ownership because the true owner has a reason to let the occupier use the land without protesting. The Mishnah explains that there is another type of chazaka, the chazaka of a kinyan, which is an act of acquisition that can be made by all of these groups of people. When were these words stated? Regarding someone who is establishing a chazaka to prove his claim of ownership, that is, he is trying to establish a 3-year chazaka as his proof that he owns the property he is occupying, so he will not need to produce his deed to the property if his right to it is challenged. But if a person is giving a gift to someone else and the recipient of the gift wishes to make a kinyan chazaka to acquire it, or if brothers are dividing an estate and a kinyan chazaka is being performed by each heir to acquire his portion of the estate, so that the other cannot retract and protest the division, or if someone wishes to acquire the ownerless property of a deceased convert, and the recipient locked it up, fenced it in, or breached its fences even a little bit, this is a valid chazaka of acquisition, and he thereby acquires the property. Even the groups of people listed earlier in the Mishnah who cannot establish a 3-year chazaka on certain properties can legally acquire those properties with a kinyan chazaka.